Have you been hearing a lot about EMFs? There's so much information out there that it can be overwhelming. We don't know what's true, what's not true, what's real, what's exaggerated. Well, stick around because we have Amy Pituch here with us today, and she is going to talk to us about the facts, EMFs, coherence, and you. Welcome to the show again, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I love being here. It's one of my favorite shows to be on.
Oh, thank you. We are live on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio and TV, as well as Going Solo Podcast. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and as you can see, if you're watching us, Janice isn't with us today. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well. So Janice, we're sending you extra love and healing prayers that you start feeling better real fast. So I just wanted to get that in there, Amy, before we got started. I do want to do Janice's little plug. Peaceful Empowerment Works is a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit organization. We work as a branch of the nonprofit, bringing awareness to all things we feel can help bring peace to people's lives. If you would like to support our mission and share the various pathways to peace, please make a tax-deductible donation in support of the show. You can check us out at our website, peacefulempowermentworks.org. See, you can tell Janice does this all the time. And there's a donation button at the top of the page and at the bottom. And if you donate $25 or more, Janice creates some nice swag for you. She does t-shirts, sweatshirts. She's dabbling in mugs. So if you do that and you want some swag, peacefulempowermentworks@gmail.com is how you get to Janice. So there we are. Amy, thank you again. We were talking the last time you were here was probably last season, and you were talking about biowell technology.
Yes. And I still use the biowell as a research tool. So life has kind of evolved some from that point. But yes, it's so good to be back on here.
Excellent. So with Janice not being here, I will say the good news story is today, Amy's here. And the gratitude story for today is Amy's here. Oh. Yay! I'm so grateful, really, that you're here because, we talk about EMFs in my family and in this house. And it's so funny when I see something on Facebook or social media and I'm like, oh, maybe we need to get this for the house. Jen will be the first one to say, you need to reach out to Amy and see if it's any good.
She's a wise woman.
A wise woman. So there have been some shifts in your bio. So I'm going to go ahead and read the bio for the people out there. Amy Pituch bridges the scientific and energetic worlds to explore what drives human well-being with a focus on how electromagnetic environments interact with the human biofield. A licensed educator, energy worker, and certified sound therapist, she holds EMF Level 1 certification, GEMS Academy, and is an expert-level biowell practitioner, making complex science accessible and helping people understand the invisible forces shaping health and coherence. I am so glad that she's able to break down the science because it helps me understand a lot more. At the foundation?
EFEIA.
At the EFEIA Foundation, she coordinates case studies and strategic communication, and as strategic partnership director at
NOXTAK,
she aligns research, technology, and education to create safer, healthier environments. Amy is also the host of an upcoming Lumina Podcast. I'm excited to watch that, exploring EMFs, biofields, biophotonic, quantum biology, and advanced wellness technologies with scientific neutrality, curiosity, and critical thinking. I am so glad that you break this down into common terms. Wow. We are very fortunate to have you as a bridge to the science world and the energy world, and being able to interpret all that science. You read a lot of studies, You are now hosting, facilitating a lot of studies, and being able to take that scientific mindset, and that's why you were such a great teacher, and transition that into everyday words and happenings. I don't know why happenings came to mind, but how we live our everyday life is so huge for people. Because I know me, I get so much input that I get overwhelmed and just like put it on the shelf. Yeah, maybe I'll deal with that another day. But having someone like you being able to break it down into real life, as I like to say, real life terminologies and examples and experiences helps me be able to absorb the information. So thank you. And thank you again for being here today to educate us on EMFs.
You're welcome. And to kind of piggyback on that, I believe everyone should have access to the truth. Saying there's so much out there, and what is really true, and what is going to help us, and what is going to help our expansion and our journey. And so that kind of drives a lot of what I do is, connecting with the truth and giving people access to it and understand what's really happening. So
I love that. Thank you. What a way to serve. What a way to serve. So, I think I want to start with how did you transition from BioWell to now doing what you're doing? How did that unfold? Because it's been a while since you've been here.
Yeah. So I've had quite some major life changes since I was on the show last. As always, and I shared, I have been very divinely guided in my journey, and starting off first with being an energy worker and Usui Reiki master to a sound therapist. And I worked a lot with the energy world. And I was guided to do BioWell, and that was connecting the science world with the energy world and kind of connecting the two. And the universe has just been continuing to guide me on my path of how to serve others. So I was an elementary teacher of 17 years, and I was guided to resign, and I did in June. And children still hold a very special place in my heart, and I value my years teaching. And it's not my end of work with children. I'm still going to be doing work with children, just in a different manner from now. And the universe then guided me to join the nonprofit EFEIA, and also the company called NOXTAK. And so we do education, awareness, advocacy for EMFs. So it's been a beautiful journey, and I have learned so incredibly much by being at this company. It is all science-based, research-based. And so I work directly with the EMF researcher, Joaquin Machado, that I'll be sharing a lot. And he has just taken me under his wing and just has really helped me understand the intense science world and bring it down to levels that I understand. And then I'm able to take that and help other people understand, and so that we can spread this knowledge out there to everybody. So it's been a beautiful journey. And honestly, it's about listening and trusting and being guided. And when you do and you don't resist it, life is always better than you could ever imagine. I'm seriously living a life I've dreamed about. And it's been such a blessing, because I can still be present and be a mom and do everything that I love to do. That's near and dear to my heart. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And, living a life guided, divinely guided, takes a lot of trust. So, kudos to you for trusting the process and trusting the guidance and trusting you. I feel like that's a big part of the journey, is coming home to you and being able to trust the guidance you're receiving from your heart and your soul and your higher self. And so, yeah, wow, what a difference a year makes. What a difference a year makes for you.
Yes. I never thought, but the most beautiful thing is when I got to the point where I just kind of surrendered and let go, I could never have pictured the position that I'm in now, back a year ago at this time. So it's when sometimes people really try to manifest, and my husband and I were just talking about this morning. We try to manifest and we want it to be a certain way, but sometimes our human minds is limited, but when you release and you surrender and you allow expansion with endless possibilities, it's beautiful where the universe will take you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And you're a beautiful example of that. I mean, a year ago, you never would have dreamed of diving into the world of EMFs and EMF education. And yeah, it's like one step after another kept revealing itself to you, and you kept saying yes.
Yes.
So beautiful. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's dive in. First of all, what's an EMF?
Okay, that's a perfect spot to start. So EMF, for those of you who are not familiar with it, stands for electromagnetic fields. And it's interesting because a lot of times people hear EMFs, they might think radiation, and they kind of get in a state of fear. And understand that fear is just really a lack of knowledge of understanding what's going on. Or sometimes people hear EMFs, and because they're invisible, people think, oh, it's a scam, it's something made up, it's not real. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because we have so much science proving this and that exists and it's real. So diving into the first step of EMFs, so sometimes people like going back and they say, oh, EMFs, and they get fearful and they think it's bad. But EMFs in itself are not bad. And I want to explain to you, there's two different types. There is natural ones, which is radiation that we receive from the sun, the Schumann resonance. And we need that radiation for our biological systems to work. Okay, so that type of EMFs are good for us and we need them. That's why grounding is so important. But there's another type of radiation that exists, which are artificial EMFs, also man-made EMFs, and that includes your Wi-Fi, dirty electricity, the high power lines, anything you think about where electricity is going and creating electromagnetic fields, Bluetooth, all that is creating man-made radiation. Now, I'm going to take it to the next step. So not all EMFs are bad, just the artificial man-made ones are ones that are interfering with our systems. So there was a time where there's two different types of radiation. There's ionizing and non-ionizing. Okay, so when we talk about the light spectrum, okay, the ionizing are the ones like X-rays, and this is above the visible, where we see visible light, and those are the X-rays, and we know that they're damaging because they interfere with the cells. But for a long period, they thought non-ionizing, like the cell phone, what's going on with the cell phones and the Wi-Fi and everything, wasn't harmful to our biological systems, and it's great and there's nothing going on. But with our research, we have discovered is that is not true. It just is harming our biological systems in a different manner. So just kind of explaining, now this is a very in-depth concept, so I'm going to try to explain this in a way so that you can understand. So these frequencies. So when we talk about EMFs and the radiation coming from this, there's actually approximately 2 billion frequencies that are being emitted that are artificial and man-made, and they overlap one on top of the other. So when we talk about the EMFs, they create these waves, and there's different wavelengths and frequencies, and what happens is they stack one on top of the other. These different frequencies do. So for example, I'm going to give you a little history. So when they developed 1G, I'm talking about cell phones, okay, and they had the infrastructure for that, and then they developed 2G and put on top of that, and then 3G, and then 4G, and then 5G. So when they're doing this, and eventually when 6G comes out in 2030, it's just going to be layered on top of that. So everything is just being layered one on top of the other. And so when we're constantly being exposed to this electropollution, I'm going to call this. So what happens with going back to the natural EMFs and the artificial? So natural EMF, the natural radiation that comes from it, is multi-directional, that going through, and it flows in a manner that's kind of like ebb and flow with how our biological systems work. The man-made EMFs, these waves, are polarized, going in one direction, and they are very consistent in a manner, and they have messages with them, and they go into our biological systems. And what happens is our biological systems aren't made to receive these messages, and what they create is called artificial quantum noise. So we're talking at a quantum level. And what we have discovered, and with this research, with the researcher that I work with, Joaquin Machado, has discovered that this artificial quantum noise is creating the electropollution, and that is what's interfering with our biological systems. It interferes with how our cells communicate to each other, interferes with our nervous system, how our heart, our brain works. We're electrical beings here on electrical Earth, and so it interferes with that. And so how it all works in that is there's different ways that people try to fix this or protect themselves. But what we have discovered in our research too is that we really want to not block these EMFs, because in our studies we found that when we block them, we're actually blocking the radiation that's good for us, from the sun and from the earth, and impacting our systems as well as animal systems. And when I'm speaking not just humans, we're talking about animals and bees and ecosystems. So you don't want to block it, or you don't want to shield it, which a lot of people do, because they're like, oh, we block it, we're good. But what we want to do is we want to actually filter out the space, okay, the EMS, the electric pollution that's coming in. We want to filter it out so that the radiation still can be received by our bodies, and so that they can work and function as they should, but it's not being impacted by this electropollution. So that's what's really, really key and important to understand. And when I say electropollution, it's the same as like water pollution, air pollution. It falls in the same category. We just call it electropollution. So that's what's really going on right now. And the real issue is this electropollution, the artificial quantum noise that is being created from these man-made EMFs.
Wow. Wow. Now, we did a lot of talking about this in the pre-show meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, as you were saying it all again, which I needed to hear it all again, my mind shifted to energetically, the energy work as an energy practitioner. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We take stuck energy. People that I was one that just went numb. I wanted to suppress the negative feelings or the things that didn't feel so good. So I ended up blocking out the good ones as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what made me think, the blockers, they block out everything, even the good stuff. Not good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So when you're talking about, coherence, and I just kept hearing rhythm, the body, everything moves to a rhythm. And when you have something that's shooting one way, there is no rhythm. Mm-hmm. I started seeing, when you were saying the man-made EMFs, as more like a laser, like there's no give, there's no take, there's just
yes. And you're exactly right. And the thing, though, with these man-made EMFs, they can go through different materials. So, and that's why this artificial quantum noise is going into our systems, and that it is more impactful than what we realize. So those are great analogies.
Yeah. Yeah. And the energy works in the electric field of the body to help restructure and align so that the energy can flow open, easily, freely, in harmony with everything else. So, and to think that man-made EMFs are static. I'm hearing a lot of static. It just takes that field and makes it staticky and not healthy.
So I like to use the analogy of like a body of water. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we have a body of water and there is, just say, a fish or a living organism in this body of water, and there is a lot of pollution in it and disturbances. So that living organism can survive in there and it learns to adapt, but it's harder on its biological systems. It's not thriving and living the way that it should. So the best way to approach this is by filtering out all that pollution and all the turbulences that are coming in and filtering it out and bringing that space back into a space of coherence so that our systems can work beautifully and intelligently as they were designed to work. So that's what's the key, is the filtering out all this pollution.
I love that visual. I love that visual. That solidifies that right there. I think this is a perfect place for us to take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we will talk to Amy more about, okay, now we know what it is. What can we do about it? We'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Here Now, where presence invites peace where presence invites perspective. There we go, Judy, and allows peace. We are here with Amy Pituch, who's telling us about EMFs, coherence, and you. So, Amy, now that we have a clearer understanding of what EMFs are, good, man-made versus natural. It's funny when you said radiation when in the pregame meeting. You know, for me, radiation was seen as a bad thing. Oh, we don't want that. That's terrible. And so I'm very happy that you made it clear that there is healthy radiation versus, you know, the man-made stuff. So we're dealing with a lot of man-made things. Everything from the Wi-Fi to our TVs, our smart TVs, to our smart refrigerators and smart ovens and washers and dryers. Everything's smart now. Well, anything that's smart, you're saying, you know, is man-made EMFs. So
you're right.
They're polluting our homes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear. Go ahead and finish.
I was just going to say, and so now that we have that in our minds, what can we do? We don't want to block it, you said. So what can we do to clean this electro pollution from our spaces, our living spaces?
So what I want to share before I go into that is that the technology that you're speaking of, like all the smart refrigerators and all the technology, it's not bad. Technology is not a bad thing. That's really, really important to understand. It's learning to how to coexist and experience and enjoy the technology and all the benefits it has, as well as be in a space where it's not influencing our biological systems. That's what's significant. And I want to make sure that's clear, is that you don't, sometimes people go the extreme and just kind of get rid of everything. And that's not necessarily the life you have to live. You know, it's living with it in an educated manner so that you become educated yourself so that you can enjoy both. So I just wanted to point that out, that that's really important to understand.
Yes.
The technology is not evil.
No. We're talking about coexisting.
Yes, coexisting at its finest. So what we do, living in this modern world and knowing the electropollution exists, like I said earlier, I talked about how we can address this electropollution, the artificial quantum noise, is through filtering. So I want to share a technology by EMF researcher Joaquin Machado. And so he, kind of tell a little backstory with him. He has been in the field of EMS for over 25 years. And how this all kind of came about is his wife was suffering from EHS, which is electrohypersensitivity. And so he went out on a mission to find a way that his wife could live life and not be affected by this. And so there was many different things that he tried. And one of the things that he discovered and that he went about trying is it took him 77 times. And I love this. On the 77th try, he discovered a formula that actually filters out EMFs that are man-made. So what he discovered and put together is, if you take gold as a nanoparticle, so we're taking gold down to the really tiny size that you can't see with our physical eyes, it actually creates a magnetic field, an extraordinary magnetic field. So what he created on the 77 tries, he took gold and titanium and different things at a nano level, and it creates this field. Okay, it's called the spiro field. And in the spiro field, it creates coherence. And this coherence is what enables the EMFs to be filtered out. And that phenomena is huge. So the Spiro phenomena, by using gold at a nano level, is what creates these fields. So what he did is he took that technology, and it's patented around the world and everything, and he created products that you can take with you. So I'm going to show you right here. So here's an example of the Spiro Square X. So when we talk about the technology, they're like little films, little circles that look like this, that has the gold and the metals at a nano level and together in there. And each of the films has a certain power. So he created different products that has different amounts of film in to create different amounts of spiro power for the field. So right now, having this, I have a field around me, a spiro field, which stands for spin radiation organizer, and it is filtering out all the EMFs that are coming into this space. It's not blocking it, it's filtering it. So that's how this technology works. And it is, he is the first one to discover a technology that actually filters it out so we can coexist with technology, and it improves our biological systems. And so and kind of going along with that, and I have all the studies and research if you're interested in it. Not only does it filter out the EMFs, they actually found when they were doing their studies and their research, it actually improves the well-being and the functions of our systems. So they had that it improves your heart rate variability, it improves your sleep quality, it just, to me, how I vision it, it just holds space for your body to work as it should, because it creates coherence. And that means that your systems are in sync and working as they should. The EMFs create decoherence, so everything's more chaotic. So that's what this technology does, the Spiro technology. It creates coherence.
Wow.
Through magnetism.
Through magnetism. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's touch again, because I was telling Amy in the pre-show meeting that I was scrolling through social media and I saw this beautiful thing that is supposed to help with EMFs and all this kind of stuff. And I said to Jen, "Ooh, maybe we should get some of these." And she was like, "Well, you need to talk to Amy first." So what's the difference? We talked about blockers. I see a lot of EMF harmonizers out there. Well, what's the difference between a harmonizer and a filter?
Great question. So there's nothing wrong with harmonizers. And I understand that filtering actually addresses the root problem of the artificial quantum noise, the electropollution. So having it filtered addresses the problem. The harmonizers, they're not bad, but they don't address the root problem. I always kind of think of it as a Band-Aid. It makes you feel good. It makes the space feel good, but you're not really addressing the root problem. So that's the kind of difference. So I know a lot of people, a lot of our clients that use the Spiro, and then they additionally use harmonizers on top, to make it feel extra good. You don't have to use harmonizers, but some people like to.
Okay. So yes. So in my mind, that translates to the harmonizers treat the symptom, not the root of the issue, whereas your Spiro filters and treats the root.
Absolutely. Yep. Nailed it right on the head.
Excellent. Okay. So you said you have all the research, that backs this and supports all this, of course. So what are the research studies that have you found yourself getting into these days?
Well, the research with the EMFs right now. Currently I'm being guided to, we want to create protocols for children who are autistic and ADHD, and in the school settings for children, as that holds a space near and dear to my heart. So we are in the very early stages of that, but we will be creating some case studies with that. But along with what we do at NOXTAK with the Spiro, I'm work with a nonprofit called EFEIA. So we do case studies around the world. So we some of the things that we're going to tap into global case studies that we have is over in Spain. They are doing an agricultural and poultry. So what they are doing is they have 100 spirocards on 100 cows, and they are observing and doing research and studies, and they're noticing changes in the cow's behavior. They notice that the meat's actually different. The chickens, their behavior is different. The egg qualities are different. So they're noticing changes like that. Also in Argentina, we have research going and studies on bees and bee colonies because they need the Schumann resonance from the earth. So the rate that bees are declining right now, they are on their way to be extinct. So it's super important. And they've done research where they actually shield or use blockers for the bees. And they actually, the bees stop going back to their hives. They abandoned it because they need the frequency from the earth. They need those messages from the Schumann resonance. So we're working with that. So they'll have spaces for bee colonies with this technology in it to help filter out the EMFs, because the EMFs are interfering, especially from 5G, how the bees are communicating and their patterns and behavior. And there's also another project that will be opening up in Italy for bees as well. And I think one of the biggest research that we have going on right now is our EHS global census that we have. And so with that, for those of you who aren't familiar with EHS, is electrohypersensitivity. And that is people who are experiencing symptoms from the environment that they're in. So basically the EMFs are making them feel a certain way. So just like people can have different sensitivities to light, to smells or chemicals or different things like that, people can have different levels of sensitivities to the EMFs that are coming in. So when we have that, it's a real thing. It does exist. And so some of the symptoms that they might have is unexplained. So if you ever gone to the doctors and you have all these symptoms and the doctor has no clue what's going on, I'm sure that was the story of my life growing up. I had so many things growing up, and I remember even my high school years, I would go, and the doctors basically got to a point where they told my mom that I was making stuff up in my head. And I remember, and it wasn't true, obviously, there was issues going on. They just didn't understand. They didn't have the knowledge. They didn't know what was going on. So that's kind of the same thing, is that EHS is a real thing, and people do experience symptoms, and some of their symptoms are headaches, fatigue, trouble sleeping, cognitive issues like with your memory. These are just some examples. Feeling tired but wired. Those are just some examples how we got those is from a protocol that we have from case studies of common symptoms that people have. So what we have in our nonprofit is called a survey that you can do, the EHS Global Census. So you can go on there and you can actually take the survey. There's 2 parts to it. The first one is 3 surveys, A, B, and C, and they ask you questions about your habits, your technology use, your sleeping conditions, and just kind of get that, and you'll get a score. And then the second step, if you want to pursue it, is you work with a EFEIA professional that will help guide to make life changes and help you in the process. So if you feel that you may be affected by the EMFs and you may have EHS, please reach out. I would love to help get you connected and get you the resources so you don't have to live like that anymore. And what's really interesting too, by doing the census, is that we're creating the first global database of people who suffer from EHS around the world. So we can see what areas globally have higher levels of people with EHS and that are suffering more. And I also want to point out too, and I shared this with Judy and Pri, is that in Sweden, actually, EHS is actually a medical term, and it's an impairment, a functional impairment. So they treat it as the environment is influencing the person's health. And so because it is a disability over in Sweden, they treat it as that. And so when they go in there, that's something that the doctors take into consideration. and they give changes for the environment, because it's not the person. And it's really important to understand there's nothing wrong with the person. It's the environment that the person is in that's influencing them. And like I said, there's different levels of sensitivity. So we have that going on we have lots of research and data collecting and everything that we're doing through our nonprofit.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. Another point that you made in our pre-show was how the symptoms can gradually show themselves. Like you just said, everybody responds to them differently, but the fact that it can be a gradual increase in symptoms and the intensity of the symptoms is really something to pay attention to, because like you said, doctors were telling you it was in your head. And when they don't have answers, and call me whatever you want, but I find, especially with women, when they don't have answers to what's going on with you, they say it's mental. So, you have to be your strongest advocate. So educating yourself on this is crucial if you're experiencing some of these symptoms, any of them, all of them. It's very important for you to have this education, because I'm finding more and more, with my sister, when she's able to come to her doctor with studies supporting, what she's feeling and what she has to say, they tend to listen a little better. And if your doctor isn't listening to you, find a new doctor.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's beautifully said. And so it's interesting because these signals that we're receiving, like the electropollution, it is constant. We can't get away from it. And it's just the world that we live in. Open up your phone, you can see all the networks that are trying to connect with you, for example. That's just a little slice of what we're experiencing. And it's constant and it's quiet. Because we can't see it with our physical eyes, your mind might not think of it, but it's there. And so it builds cumulatively over time. And so it can develop into more intense health issues down the road. So it's really important to be, even if you don't think you feel anything, to be proactive and just have that. Because guys, with 6G coming in 2030, it's just going to keep getting more intense and more intense. Like I said, it's a layered, how they do technology, it's just a layered approach. And so which is beautiful about with the Spirit technology, Joaquin Machado, he actually went and got certified for 6G. So this actually is a technology, one more thing, that never expires because it's made of elements of the earth, gold. So it never expires. And it's also going to be able to handle what 6G is going to be bringing. Talking about the whole range of the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay. That's being proactive for what's coming down the pike. I love it. I love that very much. So, of course, my next question is, sounds like it's a beautiful product. You totally believe in it. You use it in your home. I have been in sessions with you where you have used it in your healing space, and I have felt the difference. So if people are interested in purchasing something from Spiro, a Spiro product, how can they find it? What's the best way for them to find a product?
So you can go to my website, which you see below, www.amypituch.com. And one of the tabs is EMF protection. So if you go there, you'll see some information about Spiro. And I would like to share all the listeners a discount code. If you put in Amy10, you can get 10% off the products for you guys. You can go there. Also, you could go to the Spiro website, which would be www.spiroemf.com. You can get there the same thing, and you can see all the products that they have. It has the studies, the research. I wanted to put it all in one place on my website. And another thing we didn't talk about is there's the GEMS Academy as well. So if you're interested in education, and so what that GEMS Academy it's the educational branch of our nonprofit. And so it's the education aspect of understanding what radiation is, what is EMFs, and just learning everything through a science-based approach. really understanding what is the truth that is there through research. And so you can go and do that and be a level 1 certified EMF, which can be recognized internationally. And then from there, you could do 2 approaches. You could continue if you want to and be an EHS coach, where you work with clients one-on-one and help them in their recovery journey of suffering from EHS. Or you could be an EMF technician, where you go into actual physical spaces and we do measurements and we get numbers of what the near field is for different electronics that you have in your house, and we see where the hot spots are, different things like that. And then you do a report, and then you give recommendations to the person, the customer, of how they can make changes. And it's not only just using the technology, it's also about where the smart placement of where things are. So, for example, before you show, Judy and I were talking about smart meter, and we were talking about how that the smart meter so has a field around it. You do not want what's on the other side of that smart meter, that room right there, that space, to be a resting area for like a bedroom for someone, or where you spend a lot of time, or anything like that, because they're constantly in it, and it's more, the electric pollution is more intense. So if you are in that space and it has to be there, then you want the bed and everything to be as far away from that space if you can, and if it's possible, to rearrange things. Okay, so for example, like if you think about a kitchen and your refrigerator, there's a field that goes around your refrigerator coming from the electromagnetic field from it, and it goes through walls. So you have to understand, okay, take in consideration what's on the other side of the wall, what's going to be influenced by that. So we really take into consideration like the bedrooms, the resting areas, where people, your office, where people spend a lot of time. So you can help that. And so these are different ways that you can serve people globally. Like I said, it's an internationally recognized certification. And so in my website, I also had the link to the GEMS Academy, or if you have any questions about EMFs, or if about the Spirit Technology or GEMS Academy, or taking the survey to see if you have EHS, or anything involving our nonprofit, you can always reach out. My website, my information is in there, and I would be more than happy to connect, because I think us working together and just education is empowerment, and the more that we can help each other and spread truth out there to be able to help each other, the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny, if you have any question as to whether or not any of this is real, if the power ever goes out in your house. I had the power go out in my house, and I realized my house wasn't humming.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hum. You might not be able to see it, but now it just like locked in. That's what that hum is. That hum is that the EMS, the pollution. So yeah, if you have any question, cut the power to your house.
Well, what I was going to say made me think a lot of people don't realize it until they go on a vacation somewhere, or they'll go somewhere remote, and then they come back to their home and they're like, oh, I feel so different. Yeah. Usually that's an indicator that there's a lot of electric pollution happening in your home, when you do that. So I've had quite a few people tell me they experienced that. And then that was the step, that was the turning point they needed to make changes in their life so that they didn't have to live like that. Yeah.
That's such a great point, because, you think you're going away on vacation to get away from the hustle and bustle of life. And then you come back and your house feels heavy or different. And it's like, oh, maybe it's not life itself. It's actually the pollution, the electromagnetic pollution that's living in my home. Wow. See, that's a whole nother thing to look at. I love it. I love it. So yes, if you want to get in touch with Amy. Oh, look, we have Gregory Pituch who's watching. Great. Thank you for explaining all of this. We're going to back on the show too. So yes, Amy's website, www.amypituch.com. You can email Amy at amypituch@gmail.com. The nonprofit website, www.EFEIA.org. And you have an upcoming event.
Yes. For those of you who are local in Southern Pennsylvania, Northern Maryland, I do sound meditations. So my next one will be February 19th. So if you feel guided to do that, I would love for you to come join us.
Outstanding. Amy, thank you so much for coming and sharing all the things that you're learning and all the wonderful things that you're doing out there to help educate people on living a clean life. And I love, again, we're reinforcing the fact that it's not bad, good. It's learning to live with your space in the cleanest way possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Thank you so much. Oh, and in the spirit of Janice, she sent us something to chew on. Let's see what that is for today. What if you had unlimited resources and an entire year to search for one single thing? What would it be? Yeah, that's something to think about.
It is. That's deep.
It is, yes. All right. Well, thank you for choosing to be here now with us. Janice, again, prayers for you to recover and feel better soon. And please always remember, you're not alone. And don't ever forget, you are awesome. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Amy.
Bye, guys.